It's important to remember that the Marine Corps is a cult. The best kind of cult, I think, but a cult nevertheless. We have a saying, once a Marine, always a Marine. And those of us who have worn the eagle globe and anchor see ourselves differently, long after folding the uniform and relegating it to a footlocker stashed in the attic. This is true whether the Marine in question served one 4-year enlistment or 30 years. We think of anyone who has not been a Marine as not like us, and look upon anyone not like us with a mixture of mild scorn and pity. My name's John Daly, and I was one of the team leaders selected for the first Marine Corps contribution to U.S. SOCOM Detachment 1. From a very young age, I knew that I wanted to join the Marine Corps. I was 7 years old when I made the decision, and as soon as I graduated from high school, went to boot camp. In a lot of ways, my life began at 17 with a first plane flight, then a bus ride through the tidal swamps along a winding causeway to a set of yellow footprints painted on the sun-faded, cracked asphalt of Parris Island, South Carolina. We arrived at night, scrambling from the bus towards the spotlights and screams. The coastal humidity fell on us like a heavy, wet cloak, and the night smelled of salt air and fear. We were stripped of everything that identified us, clothing, hair, even names. We each became this recruit, while others became that recruit. I had learned that the Marine Corps had a unit called Force Reconnaissance, and that was what I wanted to do. So in order to do that, the first step was to join the Marine Corps as an infantryman. And so during infantry school, we were given the opportunity to try out. The problem was that I couldn't swim. During the tryout, I made it through the running, the rucking, everything else, and got to the swim and just realized that I wasn't going to make it. So they pulled me out of the water, and that actually wound up being one of the best things that could have happened to me, because I was sent to an infantry unit, and when I was there, when I arrived, they made an error, and I was accidentally put into a sniper platoon. Which everybody hated me, of course, for being a brand new guy, being in a sniper platoon, which normally had its own tryout to get into. That was an incredible opportunity that then later served me well when I learned to swim and made my way into Force Recon. While in boot camp, I remember distinctly one of the drill instructors saying that, hey, 4 years, if you do 4 years, you're going to see some kind of combat. And obviously that's wildly inaccurate. At that point, I had been in probably 5 or 6 years, and so I think at that point I probably suspected it was just a matter of time. But then as years went on, I was really kind of believed that it would never happen. Being a Marine and having other Marines go to combat when you're not is not great. That's why you joined the whole, or for me, the whole reason that I joined was to see if I had what it takes to be successful in combat.
Both towers of the World Trade Center have been hit by aircraft. Both are in flames. Both suffered explosions.
I was, at that point, a gunnery sergeant, had just been promoted to E7, which is kind of a big deal in the Marine Corps, and was now a platoon sergeant for a platoon of Force Recon Marines. We had trained up in the States and deployed for a routine 6-month deployment, and our first stop was in Australia. So we had come ashore, gone out into the outback to train with the Aussies for a couple of days, and had our first night out in town. So of course, went out to get beer and see what was what. We're sitting around drinking beer. The Australians were watching soccer on TV, and suddenly everybody got quiet, and we looked up, and it was no longer soccer, but the first tower. Shortly after, the Marines who were assigned to be the shore patrol were running into the bars saying, hey, get back to the boats, get back to the boats. By November, we were in Pakistan first, and then into Afghanistan. SOCOM had been created in 1987 and as a recognition that there needed to be a command that had control over all American Special Operations Forces. The Marine Corps was invited to participate, but declined to do so. So the Marine Corps has always had a reluctance to identify any unit or group or people as different. We hold very high standards in the Marine Corps, so someone else saying that, hey, we're going to consider ourselves better or special or different is just kind of the antithesis of what the Marine Corps is all about. So the Marine Corps declined to participate. At the same time, they were also developing what would become known as the Marine Expeditionary Unit. And that unit is a combination of infantry, Marines, air combat, logistics support, and it was given special operations missions. It was called the MU-SOC, the Marine Expeditionary Unit Special Operations Capable. So the Marine Corps, we kind of had to be in Force Recon happy with that. Although we always kind of looked like the grass being greener, on the other side of the fence. We started hearing rumors early on that the Secretary of Defense at the time recognized this and had started laying the groundwork to grow special operations in size. So Army Special Operations were told to grow more. SF battalions, the SEALs were told to grow, and that was the initial thing that we heard was that the Marine Corps was told, hey, this time you guys are going to participate. And so what that was going to look like, nobody knew. Who was going to participate, nobody knew. But so it would wound up being like another year before that started to become more clear. I think officially was probably late 2002 when the man who would be our commander, Colonel Robert Coates, came up to me and told me that, hey, have you heard the rumors? And it's true. He told me that he would be commanding the unit and asked if I would want to be a part of it. And I couldn't say yes fast enough. The mission was just to prove whether or not Marines could operate within the SOCOM sphere. The expectation, at least mine early on, was that we would be sent to Afghanistan and our job would be primarily observing and reporting on things. Initially 4 teams, I was selected to be one of those, which was a pretty awesome moment, particularly because the other 3 Marines were guys that I really looked up to. I mean, most of them were a couple of years older than I was, had been around a little bit longer. So just being in that company was a massive honor. Colonel Coates had grown up, in the Marine Corps on the very tail end of Vietnam. So he was kind of raised as a young infantry officer and reconnaissance officer by these guys. So, when he called me into his office for the first time as team leader to give me his expectations, he told me that I'd be allowed to pick the Marines that would be in my team. That was his stipulation, that they be Force Recon Marines that we knew that we could count on and that they're tough, rugged bastards. And when I walked out, of his office, I kind of tucked that away in the back of my head that, if I ever write a book, I've got the title already. A Force Recon Marine, or a Recon Marine in general, is relatively known quantity. Right? We know what they're, all of the skills, the tasks, conditions, standards that they're held to. So any Recon Marine can do this list of things. What I was looking for were people who had some skills in addition to that. So it was really about picking people that I knew, that I trusted, that I knew I could work with, but also people that had complementary skills that would help the team. It was interesting, but I think one of the things that Marines bring to the table is that we're kind of accustomed to doing more with less than the other services. So for the first probably several months, we had no home, no buildings that we could really occupy, no equipment, The one thing that we knew that every recon Marine owned was a ruck. So we did a lot of just loading those down and going into the mountains and working on the tough, rugged part of it, and the strong back and hard feet part of it. As equipment and things started to come in, then we initially focused on, like I said, what we believed the mission was going to be, probably Afghanistan, probably heavy on observing and reporting, so reconnaissance, a lot of photography, a lot of patrolling in the small units, a lot of work on communications to make sure we could send back information. And after several months, we received a mission statement from SOCOM that told us that we would be going to Iraq, not Afghanistan, and that our primary mission was going to be hunting insurgent networks. I think we all looked at it from the perspective that we have the opportunity to show what we can do and show what the Marine Corps is capable of, and show that we absolutely are, I think we all knew that we were more than capable of operating in SOCOM. I don't know that we ever let it get into our head that, if we screw this up, we're screwing it up for the whole Marine Corps or the whole Force Recon community. I think that might have been debilitating, to have that hanging over your shoulder. The first time, there wasn't time to be scared, from telling a joke to taking a life inside the space of a minute. The first time, there wasn't time to think. Rifle to shoulder, red dot to center mass, practice 10,000 times on paper. The first time, time slowed to a crawl. I watched it all, somehow, as if from a great distance. The first time, when it was done, my heart raced like mad because it still could, because my buddy's heart still could. The first time was different from the times that came after, but the heart racing always followed because it still could. So we deployed only once, and we left in April of 2004 for Baghdad. And when we arrived, we were placed underneath the command structure of a Navy SEAL task unit. So we were being treated and employed similarly to a SEAL platoon or a Special Forces ODA. We were given a responsibility for a portion of Baghdad that had not previously been covered by a special operations team. So we were moving into a new place without background and history and things of that nature. So it was really left up to us to develop our own targets, which is good and bad. Right? It's hard to get started. How do you figure out who the bad guys are? Without somebody handing you target packages. And it really came down to some of the younger intelligence Marines that identified through reporting that there had been a number of Iraqi interpreters who were working with the U.S. murdered over a period of time. And as they started kind of doing diagrams and putting two and two together, they realized that it was a significant number. I think somewhere around 15 to 16 interpreters who were working for us kind of across Iraq had been killed. And as they continued their link analysis, they determined that all of these killed interpreters could be traced back to one person that they had in common. And so that was our first mission, was to go get this person and figure out what's up. I was selected to lead that first mission. This interpreter that we're going after was a female. We wound up spending the day driving kind of across Baghdad in unarmored sedans, trying to blend in, looking for the place where this woman had last been seen. And we're ultimately able to find her, grab her, along with the male who was driving her, bring her back to be questioned, and quickly in interrogation discovered that she was unwittingly responsible. So a gentleman that she had been seeing had started asking her for information, and ultimately using that information to identify Iraqis who were working with the Americans, and then having them killed. Once she discovered that, she was pretty pissed. She willingly gave him up, and the gentleman that was with her volunteered to help us go find this guy. We went to his house, hit his house and his place of business simultaneously. We were able to grab him, and then at his place of business, there's a lot of records of the insurgent network that he's working with, bomb-making material, propaganda, large sums of cash. So that really, once we were able to wrap our hands around all of that, that started building a framework of targets that we were able to execute for the duration of the deployment. I think it certainly set the stage to prove that. I think within the next couple of months, it was well proven. Our ability to integrate with other SOCOM units, the ability to find the house that the bad guys are in, the ability to do that without, destroying the entire city block, and the ability to build networks of people who are willing to give us information and use that information to execute targets. I think once they saw we could put all that together, that really alleviated any concerns that anyone had. We did have one mission where we were going after someone who was one of the deck of cards, the initial 52 that were considered the top targets. And he had been a general in the former Iraqi regime, and as we were moving up, I think there was some of us that were, or there was some thought that, hey, this guy he's an old guy. He's probably not going to put up a fight. It'll probably be pretty easy target. And I remember before going out on it, somebody made some sort of comment along those lines, and the major at the time, who was leading as the assault force commander, Craig Kaczynski, heard that and said, hey, it doesn't matter who it is. We need to be on our game. We need to treat everything as if it's the most dangerous mission. And on that mission, it was just a series of errors. One of our the breacher who was putting the breach on the charge was hurt when the charge went off, and which led to a delay getting through the door, which gave him time to wake up and run down the stairs with a pistol and start shooting, which led to one of our Marines getting hit. So now we have a Marine who's been shot in the calf, a Marine who's wounded on the ground, and that was the only time in all of the hits that we did, I think, which numbered in the 80s, a significant number, that a shot was ever fired back at us. Najaf, Iraq, August 2004. You were not the first man I killed, but you're the one I think of most often. The other times it was dark, chaotic. We called it the fog of war. I was on a mountainside or roadside or in a building, and bullets were going both ways. Killing was often a shared responsibility. Maybe my bullets found the other men, or maybe someone else's did. You were different. Your face filled my rifle scope. My shot split the morning silence. There was no doubt about you. This isn't an apology, just an explanation. And I guess a way for me to look back and try to make sense of it. I've never doubted that if things had gone the other way, you would have pulled the trigger. I'd be dead and you'd be sitting somewhere, maybe thinking of me, maybe not. Instead, I carry the weight of you and the others. You're not as heavy as you were once, but the weight will never vanish completely. I wouldn't want it to. I've wondered how you wound up there that day. Was it chance? It's funny how a million little things could have made a difference. If you had been a street over, or if I had picked another building, I would never have seen you. But then again, sometimes I feel like my whole life had been leading me there, to that rooftop that morning. A twisted line that stretched back 35 years from that rooftop in Najaf, Iraq, to the distant past in a little village of Hillsborough, Virginia. Given the countless thousands of decisions and choices and nudges and interventions it took to bring us together, maybe we were exactly where we were supposed to be. I don't think there was a moment that I would say, like, after this, we're good. One, I don't think we wanted to look at it that way. We kind of liked being the underdog and thinking, hey, we've got to prove ourselves every day. And I think that's part of the mindset that made us successful. So we returned in November 2004, and it took another year and a half almost for MARSOC to officially be created. So in that interim, there were people studying what we did and making their determination. So there was a lot of speculation about from us about what was going to happen. We believed that we would just be told to kind of replicate and take some of the guys and create a detachment 2 and then grow like amoebas, I guess. There was a lot of rumors floating around. The longer as time stretched out, in a year and a half, we were trying to kind of solidify the lessons that we had learned, the tactics and things that we were using, and then building the selection program that we wanted to make sure that as we started bringing new people in, we could count on them. Because we couldn't bargain on the fact that we were always just going to be able to grab people that we knew, right? So we built that selection program. We continued to train and prepare, and then at some point we were told that, hey, this Detachment 1 is going to just disband, and over in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, a new unit's going to form that will be MARSOC.
Was that frustrating at all, or?
A little, yeah. I think while quite a few of us went on to serve in MARSOC, we thought that we would be kind of picked up and we would form the nucleus of it. That wasn't the case. The Marine Corps grabbed both the 1st Force Reconnaissance Company, which is based in Camp Pendleton, and 2nd Force Reconnaissance Company in North Carolina. And those 2 units, in addition to a anti-terrorism unit that they were creating to support SOCOM, were used to kind of form the initial nucleus of MARSOC. It was an incredible honor. I feel that the 21 years I was on active duty, I've been incredibly lucky, from not being able to pass the Force Recon Indoc the first time and being accidentally put into a sniper platoon. I've had a pretty amazing career, so I'm just really humbled by it, and now eager to do what I can to help give back and help make Marine Raiders, or help veterans in any way I can. I can't shake the fact that for anyone who has not been a Marine, there must be some twinge of sadness. Regret deeply buried and seldom uncovered, but there even so. It emerges from time to time when a recruiting commercial plays on television, or when they spot a faded tattoo on an old man standing in the supermarket checkout line. While I know plenty of people who have never been Marines and claim to be perfectly satisfied with their lives, I am unable to logically process how. This indoctrination begins the moment a young man or woman is chased from a bus by the yells of a drill instructor. Everything that has transpired before that moment becomes irrelevant, before the Corps